G'day guys, how we going? Welcome to episode 2 of What's Your Verdict? Now, in this series, what I'm going to do is go back in time to some of the most controversial fights of all time, rescore them, potentially accept the wrath of you fans out there, and we can debate about who we think who won or lost. So, as I said, this is episode 2, and this is probably one of the most contentious fights for the Aussie boxing public, because our man Jeff Horn took on 8 division all-time champ Manny Pacquiao back in July 2017 at Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane, Australia. And as I said, it's been hotly debated over the last 5.5 years, to the point where they actually rescored this fight, some experts, because so much controversy. And it's one of those fights, I've got to say, that depends on how you see it. I'm going to take my Australian hat off here, by the way, so please get that out of the road straight away. I'm a massive Manny Pacquiao fan. I expected him to win this fight quite comfortably. Obviously wasn't the case, so forget the Australian part of it for starters, and let's just focus on the fight at hand. As I said, I'm a massive fan of Manny Pacquiao. I expected him to win. I remember actually in the lead up to this fight, Justin Crawford actually said the only way Jeff Horn has a chance of winning this fight is if Manny trips up the stairs and breaks his ankle or something on the way up to the ring. That's the sort of odds that were in play for this fight. So I remember it well. I was there. I'd like to say I was ringside, but I was up in the stand somewhere. It was a great day. It was middle of winter up there in Queensland, I've got to say, but it was a beautiful hot day. Ended up getting sunburned. That's the Australian winter for you in Queensland. So it was a great day, great atmosphere. The undercard I remember wasn't overly flash, but I mean, all eyes were just on the main event, and these guys didn't disappoint. So as I said earlier, July 2nd, 2017, Suncorp Stadium, and Manny Pacquiao, a massive favourite in this fight. Before we get onto this fight, let me just backtrack a little bit to last week's episode. I forgot to say that at the start. Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvelous Marvin Hagler. If you didn't see that episode, make sure you check it out. I scored it 116, 112 for Sugar Ray Leonard. I put the poll on our Instagram. 63% of you guys out there agree with me and said that Sugar Ray Leonard won the fight. I did check the BoxRec equivalent online as well. It's a little bit skewed because sometimes it's a popularity contest. 114 was the fan consensus on BoxRec. And if you check this one, it was actually 118 to 110, or 118, 111. I think it was in favour of Manny Pacquiao. I've got a feeling that might have been, as I said, a little bit of a popularity contest, and a lot of people were pissed that Manny lost his fight to, I won't say a virtual unknown in Jeff Horn. He was unknown. Even in Australia, the hardcore fight fans knew who he was. When this fight was delivered to us by Duco, Dean Lonergan spearheaded the campaign to get this fight in Australia. Campaign to the Queensland government, the Australian government, you name it. He campaigned to get the massive payday it took to get Manny Pacquiao here to Australia, and he brought home the bacon, as they say. And Manny got here. Jeff Horn hadn't really fought anyone of real note. He had the win over Randall Bailey. Bailey was on the way out. A couple other sort of obscure fighters along the way, some maybe well known in Australian circles, but hadn't really fought anyone. Duco and Dean Lonergan really manipulated things to get Jeff Horn into that spot to challenge Manny Pacquiao, to get him to Australia as well. So it was a fantastic effort by all concerned. And then we get to the fight day. So let's get into round one. Just to recap what I'm going to do, we're going to have a quick, probably 1 minute overview of each round. I'll then give my total at the end of the round, or who I think won the round, and then we'll have a running score sheet as well. I'd love to hear your feedback out there. I'm sure on this one especially I'm going to get it. I've just got this feeling that that I'm going to cop it. But look, all I can do is be objective. One thing I will recommend you guys to do, and you'll see I've got the volume turned down on all the rounds. There's no commentary or crowd reaction whatsoever. When I watch this fight, I turned it down. I don't want to see it because you can be heavily influenced sometimes by the crowd, by the commentators, all sorts of different things, even the sound of the punches, whatever it might be. So again, I've turned the volume down on this. And if you go back on YouTube and watch it yourself, just do it and just see what you think. I did it last week with the Leonard Hagler fight as well, and it really helps you focus on the footage and look at what's landing. And as I said, don't be influenced by anything else. All right, so on to the introductions here. You can see there Jeff Horn, his home crowd there in Brisbane, Queensland. It was just a mammoth day. And I must admit, I thought there's no way in hell they're going to be able to get a fight of this magnitude to Australia. I've been overseas to Vegas many times to see the big fights over there, including that man there, Manny Pacquiao. It was my first time in Vegas. I saw him knock out Ricky Hatton. I've seen him fight Shane Mosley, and who else did I see him fight? A few others anyway. Along the way as well. So just Marquez was the other one. Just a legend. Tim Bradley, I saw him fight as well. So just a legend of a fighter, and I didn't think they'd be able to get him here, but there he is. Freddie Roach is there. You can see Justin Fortune just behind me there. Mike Cont, all the team behind him there are in Australia for this big fight. So there's the introductions. Let's get into round one, and we'll get the action going here. Now, I've got some notes that I'll read out per round as we go. Now, I've got here an aggressive Horn gets on the front foot very quickly, pressures Pacquiao, who seems a little bit taken aback by the pressure that Horn's putting on. It backs off, and Horn, very strong, and seems a little bit taken aback by Horn's strength and his tactics about roughing Manny up. You can see there putting Manny on the ropes early. I think he really needed to do this. I think if he had went into his shell and let Manny get his confidence, it could have been an early night. But you can see there he took it right to Manny, and Manny was a little bit shocked that this guy, who's he to be in my face? And that's exactly what Jeff Horn needed to do, and he did. I've got also Pacquiao uses the round to feel out his young challenger, while Horn sets his template for the rest of the fight by roughhousing and muscling Pacquiao every chance he gets. And I've got Horn lands the only meaningful punches in the round, and I've actually got him winning the first round purely on pressure alone. I think Manny used the round just to feel out. I don't think he would have seen a lot of Horn. I don't think he would have probably done a lot of research into Horn. He probably knew he was a strong, young, up-and-coming sort of guy, but he's faced numerous fighters like that over his career and handled them. And when he's beaten the type of fights or the caliber of fighters he'd beaten in the past, you can't help but feel he would think, well, you know, I can't really rate this guy when I've been in with so many great champions. But I gave the round to Horn 10-9, as I said, purely based on his work rate, his pressure. You can see in the highlights there that he did pin Manny on the ropes a couple of times and unleash a few good punches. So I gave him round one pretty comprehensively, I think, too. So let's get into round two. A very even round I've got here. Horn continues to muscle Pacquiao, and Manny having trouble adjusting to his awkward opponent. That's one thing about Jeff Horn. He's very awkward. You can see there he switches from left to right. He leads with his left. He leads with his right. He might lead with an uppercut. He might lead with a hook. Just that type of fighter. But I think it really caught Manny off guard a little bit. I've got here a rough and tough round. Both continued to get tangled up and swing light, while there wasn't a very pretty type of fight. As I said, both getting tangled up and a little bit untidy. I've got Horn as the aggressor, but Pacquiao leans the cleaner shots and, in my opinion, narrowly took the round. And Manny's just the cleaner shots. Horn still came in to a lot of people say head first, elbows first, whatever, shoulders first, whatever it was. But I think I can't really see anything untoward in Horn here. I just think Manny, you can see there a little bit of extra movement, flicks out his jabs just to get a little bit extra range on him, and looks pretty confident within himself there. So I've given Manny Pacquiao round two, and at the end of round two, I've got it 19-19, so 10-9 each for the first two rounds. So, and this is where things started to heat up. Let's get into round number three. So you can see there, the action at Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane. Another tough, even round. Both fighters start feeling the pinch on a warm Queensland day. Even though it was only round three, both fighters starting to feel the effects there. Pacquiao starts to back Horn up, but Horn has the best of the exchanges and continues to rough up the smaller man. So you can see there, Pacquiao tried his normal thing, but Horn was having none of it. And he really continued to put the pace there. You can see there he's not coming in a straight line towards Pacquiao either. He's attacking him from angles, and I'm not sure whether that was a tactic or it's just Jeff's natural style, but I think he really threw Manny off by not coming straight ahead. And Manny likes fighters that come ahead, and he'll just pivot off to the left or right and then counter. And by Horn attacking him from an angle really took away that advantage that Manny normally has in his fights. I've also got there not many clean punches being landed by either man, but the pace has been frenetic right from the opening bell, and Horn cut close to the bell, but in my opinion, does enough to win the round. So I've given Jeff Horn round number 3, 10-9, and he is leading 29 to 28 after 3. So you can see the cut there. You did see the cut there that didn't seem to deter Horn at all. I'm sure. What I did actually notice a lot in the corner, Jeff Horn. They were actually quite calm, which is quite surprising considering it's probably the biggest. Well, it is the biggest fight of all their careers. His trainer, Glenn Rushton, obviously Jeff himself. It was probably Manny's corner that weren't panicking, but saying, Manny, let's get going here. You're allowing this guy to get too much confidence. You're allowing him to dictate the pace too much. Let's get going. And as I said, it was surprising that Jeff Horn's corner were actually the more calm. Let's go to round number 4 now. You can see an aerial shot there. What a great vision it was on the day. So round 4, Horn's confidence is up as he moves in and out and frustrates Manny, who seems to be feeling the pace. Yeah, and that was one thing I did notice watching the replay back, was that at this stage early in round 4, Manny's already he's flustered. He's looks a little bit roughed up. You can see there Horn really trying to let him know who's boss by throwing into the canvas. And it's really Horn, surprisingly, who seems the most composed at this stage. I've just got a feeling that at this stage, Manny knows he's in a fight. He knows he's in a real fight, and he's probably thinking, have I probably done enough to prepare for this guy? And unfortunately, when you're in there, it's too late. When you in boxing, this is not football or soccer or anything where you can go to the sidelines and get your composure and regroup and go again. That doesn't happen in boxing, of course. And as I said, I think he just realised he's in a fight. The cut on Horn's eyes flowing, but it doesn't seem to be affecting him as he pushes the action and lands the better punches. And I've got there, Manny looks to be struggling with Horn's unorthodox style and strength inside. So I've given Horn round number 4, 10-9. And he is winning the fight 39-37. And I think, look, there's a lot of conjecture out there. This is, again, just my opinion, with the PACQUIAO situation, that Horn wasn't being effective. Wasn't a lot of punches being scored. They're probably right. There wasn't a lot of clean punches being thrown. But Manny, I didn't really see him land anything really of note. And Jeff, he's bullocking style. He's pushing the pace. He's ripping and hooking and uppercutting inside. Whatever clean punches were being landed by Jeff Horn. And I know it's only round 4, but I really can't see how anyone could maybe have it any other way at this point. So I've got it 3-1 for Jeff Horn. And even that second round was close. So you can see the scores there. The 4th round that Jeff Horn, 3-1. Let's get into round number 5. Another very, very close round. Horn grows with confidence, and Manny tries to into the fight, and he really seems start to pick up the rate. Now, this goes back to what I said earlier, that I've got no doubt that Pacquiao's corner, Freddie Roach, would have been in the corner saying, Manny, time to stop taking this guy lightly. He's here to fight. This is his home country. He's here to take the belt. You need to pick it up. And I think he really started to pick it up. But surprisingly, Jeff Horn went with him and really was undeterred and not intimidated by Manny. You can see there, like he's probably worn a couple there, but he's landing as good as he gets. Now, I've got here, Horn's cut seems to be under control. He looks to have found his groove. More importantly, he knows he's got Manny's respect. He's got his range. He's got his timing, and he's starting to pick it up. And I've got here as well that Manny is under the pump for the majority of the round. Finished as well in the last 30 seconds, I wrote here, but I still think it was Jeff Horn did enough to win the round. And I know some Manny Pacquiao fans out there pulling their hair out there at the moment. But I've given round number 5 again to Jeff Horn, 4-1. Now, I remember on the day of the fight in the stands thinking, am I seeing this wrong? Am I, because I wasn't really talking to anyone. I was focused on the fight. And I just remember thinking, I think Horn's almost shut this fight out so far. I can't be right. I've got to be seeing something wrong. I'm sure it'll come out on the scorecards later if it goes to the scorecards. And I just remember thinking, Jeff Horn's won. He could have won every single round so far. I did give Manny the second round, as you saw earlier, but I've still got Jeff Horn up in front 4-1 after 5 rounds. So let's get into round 6 to the halfway point and see how we go. So round number 6, probably the most definitive of the definitive round of the fight so far. Horn continues to press the pace, bullies Manny every single chance he gets. You can see there, I know there's a lot of talk about elbows and heads and shoulders and stuff, but if you see there, yeah, he might have the hand in the face, whatever, but Manny was giving as good as he got in there. Horn was just roughing him up and closing the distance every single chance he got, and it really took away Manny's his range, his composure, and the way he likes to fight. You can see there a clash of heads. So I've got there, clash of heads produces a cut on Manny's head, which gives Horn more confidence as the round continues. Manny's starting to look fatigued as Horn believes he now can win the fight. And you can see there again, Manny, I think he looks fatigued. I think Horn is gathering more confidence as the rounds go on, and especially that cut on the head now. As they say, if it bleeds, we can kill it. And Jeff Horn is just going for it here. And I think this is, up to this point, Jeff's most definitive round of the fight. I think he won the round very clearly. And we'll just bring the round 6 recap up there. I've given round number 6 to Jeff Horn. So again, a lot of you guys out there probably having heart attacks at the moment, but I've got him 5 rounds to 1. I just think, especially that round, Jeff Horn could have had a shutout to this point. Again, it's just my opinion, but looking at the stands again, I thought that's another round for Jeff Horn. It has to be. And, whatever punches were clear punches and the hard punches being landed were coming from that guy. And Manny at this stage, in my opinion, hadn't really landed anything of note, hadn't really put his stamp on the fight. So after 6 rounds, I've got it 5 rounds to 1. However, this is where things start to get interesting. Let's get into round number 7. Fast start to the round. Manny obviously getting a rev up from his corner. He starts very, very quickly. Horn won't back down, and he continues to go with Manny, with him in the exchanges. So when Manny tries to up the pace, Jeff's more than confident to go with him. Manny's cut continues to bleed, and for the second time, the fight is halted by the referee to allow the doctor to check out the cut. Both men have the moments in the round, but Pacquiao for the first time shows glimpses of what has made him such a great fighter over the years. And in my opinion, he narrowly took the round, even though Jeff's continued to come forward. He's giving as much as he's getting. But this is the first round that Manny, you see there pinning Manny on the ropes. A little bit ineffective there. But this is the first round where Manny sort of took his time, looked for his shots, picked them really well. See a good little uppercut sneak in there. And I actually gave Manny round number 7. Another pretty close round, but I've given Manny round number 7, 10-9. And it's now 5 rounds to 2 in favour of Jeff Horn. But this is where Manny just starts to pick up the pace and turn the table. So let's get into round number 8. It was stopped at the start of the round for a quick look at Manny's cut. But off we go. So round number 8, Horn continues to pressure Pacquiao. But for the first time, Manny seems to be able to handle the awkwardness of Jeff. Now, this is where he's timing Jeff coming in. He's able to pick off when Jeff's been unpredictable. He comes in with his left or right, and Manny's able to pick him off. And you can see there, pivot off to the side. Things that he hadn't been able to do early in the fight. And this is for the first. You see there, it gives Horn a little bit, some of his own medicine back. And really starts to look like the Manny Pacquiao that we expected to see from the start. So we've got here, Jeff is relentless in hunting Manny, but for the first time, looks to be slowing down, a little bit of fatigue starting to kick in. His speed doesn't look like his head. Jeff's not an overly fast fighter, but just looks to have slowed down a little bit. Composure seems to have started to crack a little bit as well. Both fighters bleeding badly at the end of the round. And but I've got here Manny uses his experience just to nudge the round, a really, really close round. But I think you've got a bit of give and take when each round's as close as each other. And I've just given Manny the benefit of the doubt. A little bit, his boxing IQ being a little bit better, a little bit better movement, cleaner little shots inside. So I've got him winning round 8, 10-9, which makes it 5 rounds to 3 on my unofficial scorecard. Now, we're about to get into round number 9. Now, this is one that's sort of divided a few people over the journey. I don't think there's no discussion as far as who won the round. It's just the score of the round. Now, what I've done here, again, I implore you to watch this in silence and just get a bit of a feel for what you think. This is a clear round, I think we all know, for the champion, Manny Pacquiao. Horn starts well, but out of nowhere, Pacquiao picks up the pace. And Pacquiao has Horn on the brink. There's probably no other way to describe the round. You can see there, Horn starting well, like he has in most of the rounds with the pressure. Manny decides to say, all right, young fella, if you want this belt, this is the level you're going to have to be at. You can see there, he starts to really go after Jeff. Horn, this is probably my main thing to come out of this round. Now, again, this is really why it's really important to turn the volume down, because on the day the crowd was just out of control. It was huge, loud. The commentators were excited. You can see there Jeff Horn's bloodied. He's fatigued. But if you look at it carefully, it's really just a case of Manny just putting all the pressure on. He's throwing all the punches. He's chasing Horn around. But you can see there, look, it's more fatigue more than anything. Now, Jeff stumbled back there, but it was more through fatigue and a little bit of a shove from Manny. It wasn't from a punch. So I've got here the round 9. No question that it was Manny Pacquiao's round, but there is an inclination from some people that it might have been a 10-8 round. Again, I implore you to look at it without the volume. From where I was sitting from the stands, and also, well, actually, I will say, looking from the stands, I thought that's a clear 10-8 round for Manny. I thought it's clear he had Horn on the brink, as I just said before. But again, looking at it there, I think it was more fatigue than anything that had Jeff on the brink. I know the cut eye made it look bad, but Manny, even though he was pushing the pace, throwing lots of punches, chasing Jeff around the ring, I really didn't see any punch at all that showed me that Jeff was on the verge of going down. I know there was a stumble backwards, but it was more the combination of fatigue and the push from Manny, a little bit off balance as well. And I think while it was a clear round for Manny Pacquiao, I have no doubt it was only a 10-9 round, a dominant round. But for me, at no stage was Horn legitimately on the brink of going down from a punch. And quite surprisingly, after this round, which I cannot still believe to this day, the referee went to the corner and asked Jeff whether he'd had enough. You can see my scorecard there. I've actually got Jeff in front 5 rounds to 4, and he went to Jeff and asked him whether he'd had enough, which I think is just an insult to the effort that Jeff Horn had put up to that point. And what's even more, probably highlights the point even more, is that Jeff came out in the round 10 like his life depended on it. See there, Manny did look a little bit fatigued in this round as well. Jeff, I think, is like, well, I've got to come out and win this round, so he goes for it. Manny looked like he'd almost punched himself out a little bit in that 10th round, although I did think he had the better of it in the end. I've got an extremely close round. Horn comes out very, very strong, and Pacquiao seems fatigued after round 9, as I just said. Horn tries desperately to force the action, but Pacquiao keeps his composure really well. You would expect that from a seasoned champion like Manny. And I just thought, even though Jeff, for the first half of the round, really pushed the pace and had the better, Manny then got his composure. You can see they're picking his shots against Jeff. Jeff tried hard, but didn't really land anything. His bullocking from the earlier rounds wasn't really a factor. And I just thought Manny just threw and landed a couple of more cleaner shots just to narrowly take the round. Now, for you guys scoring home, that's 4 in a row now for Manny Pacquiao. And after 10 rounds, I've got it all tied up, 5 rounds apiece. On the day, I remember thinking Jeff might have done enough to actually win the round. But looking at it there, probably a little bit like the previous round, Jeff put all the pressure on. He was throwing a lot more. But Manny, I think, handled it really well. And I think just landed a couple of cleaner shots just to narrowly take the round. So after round 10, I have it 5 rounds apiece as we go into the championship rounds, around 11 and 12. So let's get into round 11. Again, as I've said, nearly every round, Horn comes out very, very strongly. Appears to have found his second wind, which I remember thinking on the day. Jeff's back in this fight. Pacquiao, on the other hand, seems content to take a breather, which is really surprising after he must have known it was a close fight. But he just seemed to be saving himself, I think, for the big last round, which is, again, surprising. And he threw his punches very, very sparingly. He didn't throw a lot of punches around. I'd be interested to see the punch stats. But for me, he didn't throw anywhere near as many punches as he threw earlier in the fight. Not a lot of punches landed by either man. But I've got here Horn piled on the pressure and continued to push Manny back, push the action, throw his punches. And Manny, I thought, just sort of almost went through the motion. So Horn's eye bleeding again. But I thought Horn did enough to take the round 10-9, which puts him 105-104 in front. That's 6 rounds to 5. So we go into the final round of the fight. I remember on the day thinking maybe Horn was a little bit further in front, but watching it back, it's an interesting thing to do. As you see there, 6 rounds to 5. So round 12, they touch gloves in what's been a fantastic fight so far. It's all on the line, but surprisingly, it seems to be Horn who comes out hard. You can see there, precious Manny for the entire 3 minutes, while Manny really struggles to close out the fight. And I think that big round 9 and 10 took a lot out of Manny, especially if you hadn't prepared as well as you might have for other fights. And on a hot day, it's not an inside stadium fight here. And the pressure of the day would have taken it out of him as well. And this young upstart in his face for the whole time. You see there, he does land his share of punches. I think there were a few clean punches landed. It was more of just an effort type of round. But it seems Horn who continues to press, and it seems to be Manny who seems to be holding on. You can see him coming forward there. But I think for the majority of the round, Horn pushed the fight. And I think, in my opinion, did enough. The two engaged in a willing exchange in the final 10 seconds, which I thought was really good. But I got to say, I thought it was Horn who pushed the pace from from start to finish. You can see their finish is strong. Manny finishes with a little bit of the combination at the bell, but I wish we had seen a little bit more of that earlier in the fight, because I just think in that last round it was Jeff who actually did enough to win the round. You can see I've got him winning 10-9, and in my opinion won the fight 115 to 113. And as I said at the start, the box rec did say 118 to 111, which I think is absolutely preposterous. That was the fans' view. I don't think you can really take it into account. As I said, I'm a mad Aussie. I love Manny Pacquiao. Of course, I was backing Jeff on the day, and I just think he out-hustled Manny. I don't think Manny took Jeff seriously, and he paid the price. And Manny had a little bit of a history of that over his career. We've seen it with Tim Bradley as well, that I think the same thing happened, although I do legitimately think he was ripped off in that fight. But I just think in this case, Jeff obviously turned up to fight the fight of his life, and other Aussies have done it. Jeff Harding's done it. Jeff Fennick's done it in recent times. George Kambosos has done it. You know, all these fighters have done it, and I just think Jeff turned up to give it absolutely everything. He was 100% ready to go. He knew what he was going to get. He knew what he had to bring. Manny, on the other hand, I won't say he came for a holiday, but I think he just come for a bit of a voluntary defence. We'll get this one out of the road. We might look at maybe a Mayweather rematch, or Crawford or Spence, whatever it was going to be. And I just think he didn't come more mentally prepared, and it wasn't until halfway through the fight that he actually switched on. And I think that by that stage, Jeff was far enough in front. He did win the 4 rounds midway through the fight, had that big 9th round, and I think you saw there, I did give him the 10th round closely. But I just think Jeff finished the last 2 rounds like a challenger needs to. I think he won both rounds. I won't say clearly, but I think he did enough to win them, did more than enough to win both rounds. And as you see there, I've got it 115 to 113 in favour of Jeff Horn. And, the judges, or the neutral judges, did score it. They gave Jeff Horn the nod. And if you haven't seen it, Ben Damon, the Australian commentator for Fox Sports, actually interviewed Manny Pacquiao overseas at some stage last year, and Freddie Roach, and Freddie Roach actually admitted that Manny Pacquiao lost the fight to Jeff Horn. So I just think sometimes, even though our favourite fighters lose, you've got to give the other guy credit. And this was hard for me because I'm a massive Manny fan, and obviously I'm an Australian fan with Jeff, but with the volume turned down and watching it quite neutrally, I just thought Jeff did enough to win the fight. So just my opinion. Look out for the poll on Instagram. I'll chuck that out there when this episode's released. I think it's up for 24 hours, so make sure you vote. But I'd love to hear your comments, your suggestions. I did have one last week for Ali Norton 3, and we might look at doing that for the next episode. I thought maybe 2 might have been the more contentious one, but I'll go back and have a look at these 3. I'll do that one. All 3 of those fights are pretty close, I thought, anyway. But we will do one of those. There's plenty to do. There's a few involving Manny Pacquiao as well in there that we'll throw in there. But I hope you're enjoying the series so far. Make sure to check it out in another fortnight's time. And again, let us know your verdict down below, and we look forward to seeing you then. Thanks again. Bye.